Okay, here we are. We're going to talk about how you go about managing your clients' contacts. These are the people that are stakeholders, the ones that you will make requests for evidence, requests for interviews, and things like that. Anything having to do with the customer side of the project, these are the stakeholders on that side. I'm currently logged in as the administrator, although I could do this as a QSA or virtually any of the roles that is QSA and up, if you will. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to go to contacts. All right. And in this case, we can select one of our two clients that we already have. I'm going to go with a new one, Turbo Hardware Store. And I'm going to put, and right now it says there's no contacts defined. I'm going to add a new contact for Turbo Hardware Store. And I'm going to say their name is Stefan Emil. And they are a database admin. They are in IT. They have a phone number, although the phone number field is not required. And for the email, I'm going to have to put in an email that I'll be able to get so I can show you the other side of this. So I'm going to put in John plus Stefan E at TurboQSA.com. And then we put in a URL for them. There's no real need to do that either, but we're going to do it. Now, this next part is super important, right? This is the responsibility areas. These responsibility areas pretty much drive all things that make doing assessments easier, right? When you request evidence, it's better to request it from people that are known responsible for the area you're requesting it for, right? And then when you want to set up interviews, this makes it super simple to know the right people to add to the various interviews, right? So I'm going to click on change for responsibility areas. And I mentioned that this guy's title was database administrator. So as you can see, we have a responsibility area defined for DBAs and owners. So I'm going to click that. Now, if he was something else in the organization, you could add him for all manner of different things. But at this point, I'm just going to add him as a DBA, and I'm going to click OK. Also, because the rock has a space for whether or not they are an ISA, I can click that. And if I wanted to override my primary contact for this customer and make it this person, I would click this. Neither of these is going to be the case in this situation. So now, as you can see, I have a database admin for Turbo Hardware Store. If I hover over this, I can see his responsibility area. I can edit him here. I can delete him here. It's important to realize that this contact for the customer Turbo Hardware Store will not get an invitation or a login to TurboQSA just yet. What would have to happen in that case is one of two things. I could either go into the client screen and create a login for this person, or probably the easier way to deal with it once we get closer to that part of the series is to request evidence from this person or request an interview or something like that. When you do that, they are sent an email where they can either click a link and provide that evidence, or they can decide they want to set up an account, a limited account in the system, provide the necessary information, and then they will have that account. But let's say I do want to set up a client administrator, right? Somebody that, somebody that's going to set up all these stakeholders for me on the customer side, right? Somebody that works for the customer. In this case, I'm going to click on users, okay? And I'm going to click invite new user. And in this case, for the role, I'm going to click client administrator, okay? Or client engagement manager, rather. So we're going to go with that. So this client engagement manager is the correct role to create users that are associated with the customer, right? And they can do other stuff as well, but they are a client side role, all right? So I need to pick which client they're for. I'm going to say they're for the Turbo Hardware Store, and then I'm going to create an email. Plus, we'll just say Sally S at TurboQSA. All right. So when I send that, Sally's going to get, she's going to get an email, and I'm going to stop right here, and I'll be right back and show you how that email works. Okay, so we're back. This is the email that Sally would have received, right? Administrator, it looks a lot like the other one when we were talking about setting up new client users. So in this case, or new QSA users. So in this case, you know, the my administrator, which would be whatever the name is for your administrator, has invited you to join the assessment portal for our QSA company as a client engagement manager, right? Now, remember, we selected what customer they have access to, which in this case is only the Turbo hardware store. So they'll be able to create users associated for that. So in order to do it, they're going to click this link right here, follow this link, and it's just real simple. They're going to give themselves a password. They got to confirm the password, and they're going to put their name in there, Sally Yates. And then their phone number is optional. All right. And once they click submit, then their account will be created, except for my password didn't match. Now it ought to match. I hit submit. Everything's good. It's now awaiting approval. It's important to realize that when you set up client user accounts like this, you don't want to, because think about it, if you would have put the wrong email in there for a user account with this kind of privilege, and then some random person may have got it, set the account up, and they'd have access to all this data. So Sally's now created her account, but she can't do anything until I log back in as an administrator. And I'm going to do that now. I'm going to log in as the administrator. And as you see up here, there's an icon next to the little message that shows that I have something waiting for me. And what it is Sally Yates has registered by invitation to be the client engagement manager. I can either reject this if I don't recognize this action, or I can go ahead and approve it. So at this point, Sally Yates now has an account. She can log in as the client engagement manager, and she can input all of the contacts, all of the stakeholders for Turbo Hardware Store with the correct responsibility areas to absolve your QSA or your project manager from having to do that work.